Call to order. The City of Mexico Beach Planning and Zoning Board regular meeting, Monday, December 5th, 2016. And we'll start with a roll call, please, Eddie.
Ms. Kidder.
Here.
Mr. Coakley.
Here.
Chair Teal.
Here.
Mr. Kerrigan.
Here.
Mr. Bush.
Here.
Mr. Driver. Here. Ms. Wilker.
And our first order of business, I believe there's a technical difficulty, and we'll review the October 31st minutes at our next meeting.
It's not technical, it's just absent-minded.
Trying to give you a
You're
break.
too young to be absent-minded.
So that'll move us to our second order of business, which is a public hearing with a deliberation and vote on a variance request setback for 3203 Highway 98, Unit C. And let's start with any discussion from any members in the audience.
If I could start, I don't mean to claim this time, but we did have one submittal that's in the packet from the next door neighbor that spoke positively in favor of this.
Yep.
We had another one today, then I made a copy for the screen, but nonetheless, it is from Chad and Diane McPherson, and what they say is this is in response to the letter we received in November regarding our neighbor Angie Prosser applying for a variance to have a boardwalk installed behind our homes. Chad and I fully support this since the ground behind our homes is not level and becomes dangerous to walk on after the sprinklers run and the grass is slippery. This boardwalk would make the area safer and more usable. All three of us homeowners have discussed this and are considering the middle home has to exit their lower level using either A or C yard. It would benefit all homeowners. So I thought I'd read that for the public hearing part.
I am a homeowner, and my backyard.
Can you step up to the podium,
Sorry,
please?
yes.
Thank
My
you.
first next to be team.
That's all right. State your name and your address.
I'm Angela Prosser. I reside at Highway 98, 3203, Unit C, Mexico Beach. Right across the street. Anyway, my backyard is basically unusable because there is a drainage ditch there. And this would just really help things out. I just want to build, I don't want to mess with any of the land. I don't want to fill it in. I know it's got to be there. I just want to put boards over it so it's more usable and we can walk around it and, you know.
Let
go
me
ahead.
ask this. Is the neighbor, you have a neighbor on each side?
I am on the far right. I have a neighbor in the middle.
You have a neighbor in the middle.
Mhm.
Does that ditch run through their backyard?
Yes, it runs the whole length of all three of the units.
Is that the one that just
Yeah.
submitted the letter?
Diane lives in Unit A. I don't know what neighbor was in favorable of the other neighbor. I don't know if that was the B unit or not.
The other one was Ronnie and Jerry and Betty Hunter
No, I think they're in my backyard.
in your backyard.
And they have a lot right behind me, and their structure is right behind, their living structure is right behind A and B, and then their lot is vacant in my backyard. So it's not like there's
But the
plenty.
ditch runs through all three of them?
Goes through all three of them.
Okay.
The request today was Unit A.
See,
Unit A is while they signed their email.
She is C.
Oh, she is C.
She's
Okay.
C.
Yeah, but the letter that I read earlier was C. I'm sorry, A.
A.
Angela, I haven't gone to look at the property, but how deep is the ditch?
I think I
Because it's
have.
not here anywhere in the paper.
This is approximate. I don't have that drawing.
Yeah, we've got the drawing that,
Yeah, I submitted that.
Correct. You can scroll down, but it doesn't have the
Wide is the ditch. I would say it's approximately, goes down to 2.5, maybe even 3 feet at the very deepest,
That's deep.
which is a pretty deep, I mean, it makes my yard unusable. You can't walk in my backyard. You know, you can't do anything, you can't set a chair in it, because it's just you know, but the ditch is 7 feet wide, and my backyard is basically only 9 feet wide.
Have you lived there long enough to see some really heavy rain?
Yes, I was here for the hurricane.
And
I was not leaving my brand new house.
did the ditch fill?
No, no.
Which hurricane? You mean the one that missed us just
Hermine.
recently?
Yes, yeah, that was a lot of rain. I mean,
Yeah, we didn't get that much out of it.
that was a lot of rain, so.
This
And it's
deck,
raining
it
pretty good now.
appears,
Do you have any idea why they designed it with such a deep ditch?
I don't know unless they needed to bring something fill in to build the building up, you know, because there's regulations on that, I know.
And DEP regulations as well.
Well, I could shed a little light on that. I remember meeting in Royce's office, going through the initial plans with a developer, and we had a dickens of a time trying to fit the triplex in that lot, and you'll notice that the parking lots on the east side, there are two that are going east and west, and one that is going north-south because there was not enough setback area to put them all three aligned the same way. And without question, the reason that the swales are there is to help with the stormwater runoff. And of course, they had to have the proper calcs, you know, with the development order and everything to make that all work.
Now, I did get a permit for a fence along that whole side, and I've built that fence, and so my boardwalk would not be seen by anybody but the 2 units beside me and the people if they're outside on their deck right behind me. So it's not, you know, going to be an eyesore of any way. And my fence has a gate in it. I have it also between units C and B, and I have a fence so that, you know, the three of us can utilize our back. We're hoping we can have a walkway back here.
Now, do you have grass out back? I heard you mention something about grass being slippery or something.
Yeah, we
How
had
far does the
sod.
grass go?
It's
Just go right
9
down
feet.
to that ditch?
Yeah, it goes in the ditch and over. It's the whole 9 feet of the yard.
All right, when you walk out your back door, how far is it until you hit the beginning of the ditch?
Grass, well, there's a concrete pad that's below my porch. It's about 2 feet, about 1.5 feet in some areas, because if you look at the actual structure, it doesn't sit square on the lot. So, but it's about 1.5 to 2 feet of grassy area before the ditch
Once you
starts.
step off that curb.
one of my questions would be, and I don't know that I can tell from the drawing, I'm assuming it's this 9 feet by this one structure, and to support that, it's going to need some posts in the ground.
Right.
And one of my concerns would be whether or not debris will wash up and hang on
Around
these,
the
and whether or
posts.
not this ditch will fill up,
I
and
see.
how difficult and whose responsibility it would be
To remove
then to
debris.
keep it clear of debris. And when that debris hits, if it does slow everything down, it may have a tendency under there to fill it up.
Right.
Which would mean, okay, we get the general debris out, but then the ditch after a period of time is a foot less.
Right, I
A foot
understand
less.
that. I understand that.
And it
Well,
could fill itself.
there is only one group of trees that hang over my backyard, and it's right on the corner of the lot, and they're palm trees. And I'm not familiar with palm trees enough to know if they drop stuff yet. I do have a line of bushes that were installed with the building, and I'm going to take all those bushes out, and I've got a permit for the back of the lot to be fenced as
Well,
well. So there's only one tree that will be hanging in the
But the
vicinity.
debris can come from anywhere up, running down. It doesn't necessarily that your yard is going to
Right.
be that, which creates.
It'll be all fenced in though. 6-foot fence will be around it with gates.
With the ditch going under the fence.
Correct. No, under the deck, under the boardwalk that I want to build. The ditch does not go under the fence. The fence is on my property line. And
Oh,
the-
I got you.
Okay.
I got you.
So the fence is on the property line, and I haven't done the back fence yet, but I will be.
Okay, I don't think I'm really clear on this yet. How much of this swale is on your property?
Well, I own a third of the whole property, and so I own
I mean, from where the rear of your property goes, it's apparently 2 feet from the existing,
Well, it's 1.5 to 2. It's about 7 feet wide.
Okay.
7 feet wide, and the back of my house is 38 feet, and then it goes around the side of my house as well. So I have a little bitty yard on the side of my house that's unusable as well, and it's 49 feet long. Although it stops because the air conditioner pad is, and there's a little, already a little existing boardwalk that they built for a shower there.
so all 7 feet of this swale is on your property? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
But the swell itself is longer than that.
Yes, it
correct?
goes behind.
It goes behind all
all
three
three.
units.
Yeah, yeah.
And I understand you wanting to try to make that property more functional and usable. I will say that we also have a swell behind 6 of our units. And years ago, we were trying to put in a storage building in the back. And the Planning and Zoning Committee were not opposed to it, but they said we had to get DEP approval in order to do that, because anything that you do to that swell that impacts any type of runoff would have to be approved by DEP, and they would not approve it. So, I mean, I think that might be something that we would need to look at, is seeing if
So
DEP would actually approve it.
P&Z wouldn't approve because of DEP, or DEP would not approve?
DEP would not approve it.
Well, these are boards that I'm hoping that I can space as wide as I possibly can, so I will not impact, I don't want rain obviously puddling anywhere on the deck if I spend the money and build it. So,
Which I understand, that's
you
what.
know, it's not
we
a
had-
structure that's blocking any of the grass.
We were going to build a platform up on 4 posts and put it on top, so that it would not affect the impervious space.
Right.
But they still would not allow it.
So are we thinking that we need to do a little more research on this and see if this in fact falls under some rule or jurisdiction of E DEP?
The CCCL line is just south of their property, so that doesn't really affect them. Of course, it's up to this board as to how they recommend to the city council. It's not a Mels Miguelski yes or no thing, but you'll notice that I didn't recommend approval. Not that I wanted to keep the Prosser family from enjoying their property. It's just that when we approve development orders, we almost guard with very serious thought to the setbacks, and the swale is in the setback area. Also, when you put boards over a swale, even though there are spaces between the boards, it does take away from some of the pervious surface of that.
And we are in a setback zone doing this.
Exactly. That's the request, is have a 0 setback in that area.
Any more discussion?
How high was the deck going to be?
It's going to be flush with my concrete pad. It's not going to be high at all. It's
You're
just,
basically, if you're saying the swale's 2.5 to 3 feet deep, that's how high the deck would be then, is that correct?
well, in that area, but I want the deck to come all the way over to my concrete pad so that it's, nobody will trip or anything. I just want one solid flat area.
We've even had a request for a swimming pool that we denied because you're required to have some pavers on the edge of your pool, so you're not just getting it from the pool to grassy areas. We wouldn't even allow the pavers in the setbacks because it affects a lot of different things. So,
Where does that swale run from and to as it goes by her property?
Looks like it comes down the
A bunch of water
side.
goes through it, where does it end up going?
Comes down to the whole rear of their property and goes out to the street area.
It doesn't go all the way to the street, actually.
Right.
It
It
just
kinda holds it,
stops.
is what it
But there's
does.
never been standing water in it. There's no standing water in it, ever. It's just uneven grass backyard.
And it's just designed just to hold the water to give it time to perk.
Yeah.
Any more discussion from the board?
Do we, in your opinion, Mel, does somebody need to talk to DEP, or are we not under DEP?
Depends how we,
It's really not under their control. The stormwater in its current form, met everything that we had to look at. And it's not in the CCL line, so we think it's fine the way it is.
But asking for 0 setbacks.
That's what they're asking for, 0 setbacks, to allow for the building of that decking in the setback area.
And the only thing we have in writing from the neighbors that it would initially affect, we've heard from all of them, from the back and the sides.
We've heard from the people in the back, plus some of the neighbors in the development itself.
The people
And-
to the right of me is the Highway 98 real estate agent building, so I'm sure you guys asked them. They haven't even met any of them yet.
How would it affect your property use if that didn't extend all the way across, let's say 3/4 of the way across that swale?
It would be helpful, but I'd really like to utilize the whole thing because I'm going to fence it in. So there will be a fence there, and then the deck will go up to, and there'll be like a unusable little trench of. Since the fence is going to be on the property line, that's why I asked for 0
Yeah, but if
setbacks.
there were that little, unusable portion there is a compromise, then there wouldn't be that big an issue with runoff, because if something got stuck on those 4x4s, you could get under and get them out.
Right. The person that's building it, I'm overseeing it. My water is what is it? The sewer thing is back there, and I want them to leave a large access, so that I can get to all of that without any problem. And I could build it up higher than the concrete pad and have it access to the side.
My concern is the water runoff, and there may not have been any standing water up to date, but you got to plan for the future. You never know
Right.
what's going to happen, and that's my concern.
so, let me ask this. If this is the back of your place and you have a concrete pad,
Right.
now how far is it from that pad to the beginning of the swell?
1.5 to 2 feet. It varies along the back,
Okay,
and along the side as well. It varies.
so what if let me just throw this out. So what if you came off level with your concrete pad and built a walkover, so to speak, that then goes up and over? Where, at the end of this, well, let's go back to, at the end of this walkway, or this proposed deck, what is there?
On which side?
I-
Oh, behind me?
Yeah,
Right now, there's bushes that I own on the property line, but I've got a fence permit to put a 6-foot fence up.
okay, I'm not sure I'm visually.
How far is you got your house, you're going out towards, here's your swale.
Uh-huh.
How far is it from the edge of the swale to your property, back property?
A foot.
A foot, okay.
It's really unusable unless I am able to do something with that whole grassy area. All that we are able to use is
You're
that.
going to put the fence on the property line on the other side of the swale.
Correct.
So the swale runs parallel to your house?
In the back, and then it turns the corner.
Right, but
on-
you're
and comes
dealing
up.
in the backyard.
I'm also, I already put the fence on the side yard as well. I want the boardwalk around the side as well, because the swell comes all the way up the side of my house to where the air conditioning concrete pads poured. And then there's a little deck for a shower, and I just wanted to tie in with all of that.
Any more discussion from the board?
I will say, I understand, wanting to use that property and making it more functional. My concern is, based on the actual regulations that we're supposed to govern and we're supposed to protect and look at, and the analysis by the city even says that the city does not recognize boardwalks or decks as an approved surface over drainage areas. There are separations between the decking boards. This construction will not allow the drainage swells to function as designed. Drainage and stormwater issues are very sensitive issues for Gulf Front communities. And if we look at, a zero setback, changing the setbacks, then are we going to be doing the same for other people who are building as the lots are getting smaller and the houses are getting larger?
If there's no more discussion, does anyone like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we recommend disapproval of the city council based on the way that the variance is currently written.
And do I have a second?
I second.
And take a vote.
Ms. Kidder,
Disagree or disapprove of?
a yes is disapprove.
Yes.
To disapprove or approve?
Disapprove.
Okay, that's understood. Okay.
Mr. Copley,
Yes.
Chair Teal.
Yes.
Mr. Kerrigan,
Yes.
Mr. Bush.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
This will still go to the city council,
It will.
and they'll make a decision.
Okay, thank you.
We're just a recommending board.
Okay.
With that being said, we are on to the commercial development order for City Hall at 201 Paradise Path. And we've had a set of plans to look at, and I guess we need to go down item by item and discuss them?
Yes, sir, without question. When it comes to your normal residential development orders, that's something that the board nor you even have to see. But anything commercial, I don't have the authority to sign. So that's why we have to take it before the P&Z and the city council. And the LDR is very clear to the procedure we have to follow in an administrative hearing. And that's why I kind of cut and pasted those items to the agenda so that we are assured that we follow the proper procedures.
So if we look at item 1, the planning board and the city council shall, A, determine whether it has jurisdiction over this matter. We don't have jurisdiction over anything, being a recommending board, that it would be my understanding. I think we could move to B and say, is there anyone who feels like they should be abstain or disqualified from this discussion for any reason? If so, let us know. So we move to number 2. The planning board and the city council may take official notice of known information related to the issue, including state law, applicable ordinances, resolutions, rules, and official policies of the city. I would assume that this has all been looked at,
Correct.
and we can say that we are in compliance with state laws and ordinances, resolutions, rules, and meet the city criteria of
Correct,
such.
and that's why you've got a copy of Royce's development order that,
Right.
she and Bo has gone through it and made sure everything was properly presented.
Part B, other public record and facts relevant to the proceeding. And I think we've been provided the necessary documents to, if no one has any question about those, we can move to number 3. Matters officially noticed need not be established by evidence or in binding to the existent that they are relevant to the material.
Kind of speaking a whole different language, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, matters officially noticed. So that sounds like the things that we have information for.
In other words, that's not the only thing that can come before this board. If someone from the audience had some pertinent information, we would as well look at that.
Okay, so we could come back to that perhaps on public discussion.
If something comes up, yes, sir.
Okay. So we'll go through the whole thing and then we'll get our public feedback and we'll have our board discussion. So 4, the planning board and city council members may view the site as proposed development with or without notification to the parties. But after the visit, shall state the time, manner, and circumstances of the view for the record. Now, I have not made an official visit that I think would need reporting because I'm very familiar with the park and everything on it.
When you pay your water bill, you see it.
Yeah, you pay your water, and so I don't know if anyone else is in a situation where they'll need to report. And that report would come to you, Mel?
Exactly.
Okay. So if anyone feels that they fall in that category, they need to give all this information to our city administrator. Number 5, staff, the developer, and interested persons may present information relative to the proposed development, and an opportunity for rebuttal shall be given to the opposing parties. The planning board or city council may ask additional persons to testify and may ask additional questions of any person who has testified or presented evidence. So now that we've been down through the criteria, let's go to the deliberation. And I think I'll first open that to anyone in the audience that would like to speak about this City Hall proposal for a development order. If not, we'll open it to the board, the Planning Zoning Board members. And does anybody have any specifics they'd like to deal with, having reviewed the plans and the development order proposal?
There's no variance required, and if everything that is required for the development order is currently included here, then I don't see a problem. I mean, I'm not familiar with what's required for development order, but it appears that everything's in place.
The only thing I'll note is that you'll see that on the site plan that you've got, there is no place for a holding pond or something. You know, we were just talking about stormwater, how important it is. You'll notice.
We're going to do that underground drain?
Exactly. In other words, we've got sufficient swales behind the Public Works building, and so the plan is, as part of the site development work, we'll take it underneath the road where we pull into to pay your water bill, and then take it over there out of the way.
Any additional comments from the board?
Mel, I noticed we hadn't anything under the pervious portion. Are we assuming this is all one parcel, so it's
That's
not an issue,
exactly
is that
correct.
the way we're looking at it,
Correct.
rather than just square there? And where is it parking designated?
Right, yeah, if you look at the
City Hall.
plan over there, there's some places for 11 or 12 spaces. Some will be behind where the current road is, some will be on the side, on the east side, and of course, the handicap will be in the very front.
Okay. And are those paved or stone or,
The handicap one will be paved, asphalted, but the other one's crushed stone or something that's,
so we're okay?
Yeah.
We can get it that way.
Exactly.
Okay.
And even though that to me doesn't seem like a great deal of parking, but we all know city halls, people come and go and it doesn't occupy a lot. I would think that the existing city hall parking, with it being a minimally occupied building, would give us any overflow parking that we
Sure.
might, for on
except on
occasion
pickleball
need.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
Okay.
the little bump out portion of the structure as you look towards it over on the left side?
Oh, that is the location of the swing sets that used to be there. There was a box where those were located. They didn't take that off the
Okay.
site thing here.
So you're saying, based on the square footage and the function of the building, that there will be adequate parking?
Correct.
Impervious is not an issue.
Right.
And handicap space, there will be one?
Be two in the
There
front.
will be two.
And it's ramp accessible, I assume.
It's all on grade, so it's not a problem.
Okay. If there's no more discussion, so, yes, ma'am, please step up to the microphone.
Careful.
Lisa Logan, 402 Maryland. Just out of curiosity, when you brought up the pickleballers say that they have not enough parking as it is now. Is there going to be some way to keep the pickleballers from using the parking spaces that are meant for the city hall? I mean, you know, it could turn into a problem there.
Well, luckily, it's only temporary, and most of us will be at work by the time the pickleballers even get there. But when you consider the customers, you know, showing up at 10 o'clock in the morning when they started at 9, we'd like to think that we have those spaces on the east side of the city hall, that the pickleballers wouldn't park there. And, you know, we've had a discussion with them already about leaving some spots open for city hall now. And they've been doing a pretty good job lately of allowing that to happen. So I'm thinking with the current parking where we are now to be utilized for the pickleballers and not us, and us moving somewhere else, I think we'll be okay.
So you're basically gaining 12 spots.
From what
That's
exists
what we
now.
got now. Right.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion?
And as far as public opinion and making this available, we've met all of the requirements, or meeting the requirements for that, for people of the public to be able to look at it and view it.
Well, there was no public notification requirement for a development order.
Okay.
It just met the normal posting requirements for this meeting, things of that sort. Admittedly, the site plan and the development order, and those plans we got last week, there was an update from the one from the previous week, which had made some minor changes. But the development order we got today, so that's why you didn't have it in your packet. So, you know, we're running a time crunch. We're having a groundbreaking ceremony on Wednesday. Assuming that you guys approve it tonight and the city council approves it tomorrow night. If you don't, the groundbreaking, of course, will be canceled.
Just curious, but why was the property cleared so far, previously? right? I mean, where there's been some clearing done.
Well, most of the site where the city hall will go was where those swing sets were. So those were taken to a different park. And so there was a little bit of site movement around there. The biggest problem was we had a power pole in the way. And Duke Energy took an inordinate amount of time to come and schedule that to get it done. Luckily, they came on Friday afternoon and finally got out of the way.
A little optimistic planning there.
Yes, we put a lot of pressure on them as we could, and it finally came through.
So if there's any other questions from the board, if not, would someone like to make a motion?
I recommend, I make a motion that we recommend the city council approve the development order as written.
And do I have a second? Second. And a vote, Adrian?
Ms. Killer.
Yes.
Mr. Copley. Yes. Chair Teal.
Yes.
Mr. Kerrigan.
Yes.
Mr. Bush.
Yes.
So ends the commercial development order. Now, we have another item here about a meeting date for a public engagement workshop. And we had scheduled that, and it didn't seem to work out so well, so we need to pick another date for it. And
Before we do that, I'd like to make a comment, is that everybody's had, I mean, I'm the one that was pushing this. And-
Actually, I was behind you as well.
Yeah.
Okay, but everybody's had an opportunity to review, what my ideas were. And if nobody has similar concerns or own ideas of their own, then I see no reason to hold the meeting, because if I'm the only one pushing it, or Denise. So, I mean, does everybody still want to hold it, or doesn't care about it, or?
well, if we're going to implement anything, we're going to need to discuss that. If we're going to make some changes, we need to discuss that. And we could do it, I had suggested once before, we could do it at our next meeting. And you all kind of indicated that maybe we should have a separate workshop for that.
What have we got on board right now for?
We only have one item so far for the next month, and that is another development order for some potential warehouses just next door for the Cathy family.
Would we like to try and incorporate that in a meeting, or would you like to have a separate workshop?
Well, are there any other ideas out there other than, I mean, what I basically put on paper, I think we can handle in a meeting.
Okay.
Whatever else has, if there's equal amount of stuff, then I think we need to have a separate meeting.
Well, you covered it pretty well. I know I don't have anything additional to contribute.
And I reviewed a lot of the things from our previous meeting in Freeport as well, and I think you covered most of the topics and the better points from there as well.
Well, if that's the case, then I believe we can probably handle it in our normal
The regular
meeting.
meeting.
Particularly next month, we only have one item on the agenda.
And I don't think this takes a vote, it's just we agree that we will add to the next regular meeting agenda to discuss the public engagement information that's been presented.
Okay.
Then we can turn the page. And do we have any code enforcement items?
We don't really, except one of the things that our code enforcement officer is tackling now is the placement of the trash cans and enclosures in everybody's yard. No question, the ordinance is clear. It says you're supposed to have it to the side or the rear of your home. And a lot of people can't, or a lot of people won't.
Or
There's-
some of us have a Rubbermaid container that's been there for 20 years, and we're wondering, why should we have to move it? It's worked
Exactly.
perfectly, and it conceals the trash.
Right. So starting in January, the code enforcement officer, who's a really nice fellow, is not going to be knocking on people's doors to get them mad or anything like that. Is to start a conversation with the people as to where they want to put their trash. No question, along 98, there's no room to put it on the rear of the side. So those people would be given an okay sign to keep it where they've had it all these years. But there's some around town who put it in the front, and it doesn't need to be there, and they could put it to the side with
So-
very little trouble.
Will they come and pick it up from the side?
Oh, certainly.
So
Do I
if
need-
there's
Will
a,
I have to get a variance if I'm in the setback zone?
You won't be in the setback. You'll be fine.
My side setback? I'll talk.
We'll
to
let the code enforcement officer putz with that.
Trash can holder is a non-permanent structure, how about that?
There you go.
Yeah,
Just trying to interject a little humor.
that's okay.
Okay, so we all may get a visit in January. Yes, ma'am.
still pertaining to the garbage can locations, I think at the last city council meeting, there was a statement made that if you had concerns about it, that you could call Phil and,
Sure.
and talk to him. So if you do have concerns, would it be to call Phil or to call the code enforcement
Either one.
officer?
In other words, the code enforcement officer is doing the legwork on behalf of Philip,
Okay.
so he doesn't have to do it himself. But if you have a situation that's pretty easy, go ahead and call Philip, it's okay.
Or do we just wait until January when they come by?
Totally up to you.
That's what I was hoping to hear. Any, yes, ma'am.
This is a question that I've wondered about that's never really been answered. I'm hoping maybe someone tonight can enlighten me. One of the reasons for redoing this whole sanitation ordinance and going through all that turmoil was it was supposed to make it easier on the sanitation crews. Can someone explain to me how it makes it easier to make people move things to the side or the back of the house where the guys have farther to walk and carry the garbage?
It doesn't.
Sound like something that belongs to planning and zoning. Has nothing to do with this meeting. That's a council question.
Ask the council tomorrow night. It's not our jurisdiction.
Joe, I have one question, or maybe Mel. It's been there forever, but it kind of jumped out at me today. There's a obscure, I won't call it a shed, but kind of a vertical building across from the El Governor. I assume it's something to do with El Governor storage. I'd say it's 7 or 8 feet tall. It's about 5 foot square on the base or something like that. It looks kind of like an outhouse just sitting there. And it seems like we could get that either back off 98 for aesthetic purposes or get a coat of paint on it or something. I think we just ought to,
Need to gussy it up a little bit.
yeah, or just move it someplace. I'm sure
I
it's got
think that
something
might
to
be
do
the
with
structure that they drag down onto the beach, that they do rentals, parasail
Maybe.
and jet ski rentals out of that. I've seen them literally drag it across the road. It doesn't have wheels, it's just on wooden skids and.
It just looks awkward as you drive
Yeah.
down 98. We've got a lot of nice new homes on 98 and to really sharpen up, and that thing's just kind of
Yeah.
sitting up.
Maybe we could mention that to code enforcement?
Yeah, he'll
Yeah.
take a look at it.
Okay. Good idea. So, I think we all got the 2017 meeting schedule, and we've marked our calendars.
Right, and you'll notice that there's 3 yellow markings on there. I've gone ahead and scheduled our next meeting for the 4th of January, which is a Wednesday, because I had to get it because of the development order that is pending with the Cathy family. But the other 2, I can change. So,
Most of them seem to be fall on the Monday, right?
yeah, the other 2, the 7/31 is a Monday, and the 9/6 is a Wednesday because Labor Day.
I don't have any problem with the schedule. Anybody else?
So if it's okay like it is, we'll publish it.
And now it's time for Mel's other various and sundry items.
I think I've various and sundried out this evening.
So if there's no more comment from the visitors and nothing else from our board, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn? And a second? And all in favor, say aye.